Hey, look at that. Okay. So I can't see. It says 0 up in the corner, which I think is odd. I might not be able to trust that as my counter. Wonder wonder if I can use the moderator tool. I have to pay in order to do multi-streaming through Talk Studio, I guess is the name of it. Streamlabs Talk Studio. Okay, now it says there's one viewer. See if that's accurate. So there's obviously some kind of delay, which is fine. There doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be fast. Still though, want to see. Do moderator. Twitch. TV, I think that's right. We shall see, shall. Okay, so that didn't work. Can't see animated things though. Is that animated or not animated? If it's not animated, then it doesn't matter. But if it is animated, I can't see it through this. But that's also fine. Like I said, I might just need to hang on. It doesn't auto scroll. It is animated. Okay. Well, that's annoying. Let me see. Maybe if I turn it on to desktop version, that will let me do that. I don't know if it will automatically send the chat text box down. But so far, hey, it works. This sucks. This is not the quality that I like. I don't have my good mic and I don't have my good camera. I have the little uh webcam that's built into the laptop. Oh my god, stop making noise. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if it will let me do rating. Yeah, it is. It is something. Can you not, though? Wouldn't that just be great if you did not do that? Yeah, exactly. It's temporary. But it keeps the momentum going, which was what I was worried about. I was worried about losing my momentum. So this is comforting. And maybe I can even maybe I maybe I can even do silly little browser games and stream my silly little browser games because I do have the option to do share screen. So that's I'm willing to give that a try potentially. Um we shall see, I guess. Oh my goodness. All right. Video producer. Can you get me to the video? There we go. This is great. I can continue to read to people who may or may not give two craps. Oh, that feels kind of good. I'm kind of mad at myself, admittedly. I probably could have investigated this a little further. It's been an entire month, but you know, learning curve, right? Um, where I don't know where it is. Is it here? Maybe. No. When I was at work yesterday, as I was on my way out the door. Oh, good, the bit rate's good. Awesome. When I was on my way out the door, you made me an editor, I could do rates for you. Fuck yeah! Look at that! Preemptive thought, that's amazing. That's fantastic. Okay, and I can access it looks like I can access don't forget to take advantage of what? Oh, hey, Neff, how you doing, buddy? Absolutely, I will. Thank you for reminding me of that, and also thank you for coming into the stream. I was really just kinda testing this to see how things would go, and I'm glad that it worked, and, that people are getting notifications and stuff, that's great. How are you doing, my dude? I've seen you stream a few times, but I haven't popped in because I've been really, really tired after work the last few days. I'm sorry about that. Um, it's a little laggy, but like you said, that's to be expected. Yes. When you say laggy, do you mean that I'm lagging or that there's a delay? I'm not 100% sure what you mean when you say, because I wanna make sure that I'm like, is the audio consistently going through or the video lagging behind it? Yeah, I can't stream during the day because my internet sucks. Same. I am currently staying in a room for rent at a house, and the, uh, Wi-Fi what the hell is that thing called? My brain is totally I froze for a sec. Okay, that sucks. Okay, so it's maybe not perfect, but I'll make it fucking work. That could be my computer, honestly. And if that's the case, I just need to close literally everything, which is something I should always be doing, but I don't. Um, audio is fairly consistent. It's the video. Cool. Thank you both for that. I appreciate it. Um, worst case scenario, I turn off the camera. I just need something to be on the screen though. That's the downside. Um, router, there it is. The router is in the basement and I have no control of that. And because it's literally in the basement, uh, I don't know. Yeah, exactly, exactly. I don't know if I can I could go in the basement. The problem with that is it's the basement. It's a little stinky down there. The walls are concrete, so probably the audio is gonna suck. Um, I don't I'll see. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll take it down into the basement to see if that increases the furnace might eat. I do remember. That's how old I am. I probably saw that when it first was in theaters. That's how old I am. Um, I could potentially take computer down into the basement and see how it goes there, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Don't worry about it. Okay, well, I because I'm using this cheapy little alternative measure, I don't know how well it's gonna work in terms of, like, quality, again. But if y'all don't care so much about quality and it's really just about content, I could probably get through with this. Fingers crossed. I This feels good though. I feel oh god. I really again, I really kinda am beating myself over the head for not testing this sooner. Um, so yeah, I was at work because I forgot this to finish that part of my little tangent or ramble. Um, mm, I don't know if I can use it. Well, hmm, I will investigate that. I will investigate that. I don't know if Talk Studio Streamlabs would do that. But it might because I think you can have it set up to act like what am I talking about? Yes, okay. Don't worry about it. This is a threat. Gotcha. Back to okay, at work, as I'm leaving, I went to grab something on the table in the break room. And because I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings because I was distracted, I got my head underneath the cabinet and I scratched the hell out of my head trying to like stand up straight rather than hunch over the table, the chair in front of the table that I was getting the thing on. Because I am an idiot. Yes. Um, not something you can fix today, so what Cozy's 100% right. We actually are very both familiar with video tube. That's how Cozy does their live streams is through using that as their PNG avatar. And they've now gone on to make their own PNG. I had initially made the first one. We made it together, but I did most of the quote unquote work. But they've gone on and done all of these additional things on their own, and I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud of them, and I know you are too, Neth. Um, so yeah, scratched the shit out of the top of my head yesterday on my way home. I as I told you, Z, I have been I fell off of a bunch of my meds recently. Not at anybody's fault necessarily. I just moved from Arizona to where I'm living now. And because I had to do that, I had to reestablish care with a new doctor with new insurance. I had to sign up for state insurance. So I had to wait for that to go through. Automod loves you. I'm sorry, man. Um, so I had to do all that. And while I was waiting for all that stuff to go through, I only had 1 month worth of medication, I want to say. Um, so slowly but surely, because all of my meds were at different I can't do that from mobile, hold on. I can't do anything about it, because I think I had maybe 2 months worth, maybe, but not on all the meds, and definitely not on my Adderall. And the Adderall was the thing I ran out of first. Not fun for any of us, spicy neurodivergents. That's the Leasley number 2 for the least offensive thing I've been auto-modded for. My auto-mod is not set up good, and you are not you are not the first victim to my auto-mod. I'm half tempted to just turn the damn thing off. Um, so the artist I commissioned made me a hot twink, and I love it. I love it too. So you're okay. Okay, I won't. Um, you're just really gonna have to mod for me for once. Isn't that just a pain in the ass? um, I'm getting so distracted. So I fell off the Adderall, and that sucked, and it continued to suck because I could feel my only do that if you've got a mod who can be in chat and on the ball. It keeps you out of trouble. Yes. Um, if I have the moderator out on my phone, I can potentially do that also. But as it is right now, Z is my only mod, or maybe I should say, here, let me fix that. Um, added permitted term twink. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, um, long story short, I ran out of all of my meds, even my sleeping meds, which I need to sleep because I have sleep apnea and nightmares, or I should say night terrors and terrors, just to better emphasize myself. Night terrors and restless leg and a bunch of other stuff. Like I said, my body is a broken, decrepit, dilapidated shed in the back of somebody's 600-year-old house. That's my body. Um, so Friday night, I realized this as I got home. Uh, I was like, "Oh shit, I took my last Seroquel yesterday," that being Thursday. How the fuck am I gonna sleep? Also, if you're not familiar with the no, you're fine. Um, if you're not familiar with the side effects of missing a dose of Seroquel, one of the side effects is literally shitting your brains out. Um, I don't know if it's just the immediate, like within 24 hours of your last dose, or if it's like 36 or plus. I don't know for sure. I just know that's one of the side effects. I have witnessed it happen with my spouse, so I know it's not just make pretend. I've had other people tell me also that they shit their brains out when they miss a dose of Seroquel. So I was not excited for that. I was about to go the following day, that being Saturday, uh, about to go and have a full 8-hour shift. And to think that I would spend probably a quarter of my shift running to the bathroom to shit my brains out was not something exciting. And what I do for my day job, as it is right now, is I'm a cashier at a grocery store. So you can imagine how great that is, hashtag sarcasm, um, that I would uh, make myself so sick that I couldn't do my job. And I didn't want to call out because my store manager is passive aggressive and would have been um, shitty about it because he'd already been shitty about it before about me missing shifts. Yes, they don't like it when you leave the registers. Um, we're a very small store, so thankfully we're not super busy all the time. And if it ever gets to be more than 2 people waiting in line, I have the ability to call for backup. I am encouraged to do that, in fact. So I do. Um, I don't let people wait in line. I don't wanna blah, 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 blah. It's not important. It's fucking capitalism. Anyway, I didn't hear that. My spouse suggested to me that I go anyway and have them send me home if I started showing symptoms. Um, I wasn't excited to do that, to be honest. So rather than do that, I decided I would get to the pharmacy first thing in the morning and pick up my medication. The problem with that was I went to go check and see what the status of my medication was. I use CVS, and I did not see any of the meds that my doctor supposedly filled for me listed on CVS's website. So I immediately panicked because she's likely not going to be in the clinic on the weekend. So the idea then be the realization then became, fuck, am I gonna not have Seroquel for 2 to 3 days because I have to wait for her to be back in the office on Monday so that she could resend the medications to the pharmacy. I went to check the website that my clinic goes through to see if the medication went through. It said on the website that that particular CVS is not linked to their website. So that I was supposed to call them and let them know. But CVS has also been blowing up my phone and I haven't been answering because I don't have the time to get there. So I was just like, whatever. If it turns out my medications get returned, whatever, it's fine. I'll have them rescheduled, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I checked my voicemail to make sure. Shouldn't have to go in and get sent home, but for some entirely unknown reason, undiscovered reason, that's definitely the most certainly absolutely isn't capitalism all at all. No way, guys. I promise. Trust me, bro. That's what managed prefers. Yes, you get it, Neff. Um, so I checked my voicemail and I had saved one of the last calls CVS had left a voicemail, automated voicemail. My hair is a mess. Automated voicemail. And thankfully, from what I could tell from the voicemail, I had medications ready for me, up to 9, actually. So that was reassuring. I'm glad that I went and checked that. And I decided, okay, I'm going to still go. Saturday, I'm going to get up. I'm going to get there early enough that I can get my meds and then get to work on time. I probably won't have enough time to take a dose of anything, but I can at least have the meds with me so that when I leave work, I don't have to be without them again. So I go the next day after learning that they don't open until 10 a.m. on Saturday. I have work at midnight. What midnight? I have work at noon. Wow. Um, it's an hour round trip with my bus specifically because my bus is the only bus that goes up to where I'm currently living and also my work. So, any other bus in town, I could take one of 4 other buses that go by the same route, but this particular bus only goes until 8 o'clock at night, so I can't work any later than 7 o'clock. Um, and because I'm now living on that hill, that's fine because I can walk it. It's a 30-minute walk though, which sucks, but that's also fine because it's mostly flat. There are some hills. I have a bike. As Cozy knows, that didn't work out so great. Long story short on that, I fucked the handlebars over and crashed my bike and wrecked my scratched the shit out of my leg. I've tweaked my back out. My back fucking hurts, etc. So I've been walking and I've been taking Lyft. Um, a lot of Lyft lately, and I hate that because it's money spent. Yeah, Cozy knows everything because Cozy lives in my fucking back pocket. Um, so long story short, getting to the pharmacy and then back in time for work, I had a very small window. I needed to go in, get my meds, immediately go back outside, get on the bus, and go. That's the only way I was going to make it. Obviously, that didn't happen. Um, I didn't get to that bus because I had to wait for some stuff to run through my insurance. It's a weekend. It takes extra time, etc. I um I realize I'm going to be late. I call ahead to let them know I'm going to be late. No. I called them to let them know I'm going to be late. I get off at the cross point from one bus to another bus because the 103 and the 112 both go to the same spot so that I can get from one to the other if I need to. Because the 112 goes all the way to the transit station, the 103 misses the transit station altogether. It's really stupid, but it's how it is. So I could take the 103 to the spot on the 112 that I could get the rest of the way to work. The problem is they don't meet within the same hour. One of them stops on the hour, the other one stops at the half hour. So in order to do that, I would have to wait an hour after getting to the spot I needed to get to work on time, which wasn't going to happen. I was going to end up getting there a whole hour late. So I called a Lyft from the spot I got off at 103, and I ended up only being 15 minutes late. Much better. I feel better about that. It sucks, but it's better than nothing. So I haven't slept because I didn't have my night meds, and I feel like absolute fucking garbage my entire shift. Um, I'm tired. I'm hungry because I hadn't really eaten. I um had to do a whole 8-hour shift. And as it turns out, the manager on duty was the person in charge rather than so that's basically like a shift leader. Let's call it that. Shift leader. rather than the store manager. The store manager and the assistant store manager don't work on the weekends. They have a night manager who works on the weekends. He is out right now because um of an injury. That's part of the reason that I've been getting all the night shifts. So that's fine, whatever. But I'm feeling some relief for that. But I also just feel like shit. I don't even want to be there because I haven't slept, because I haven't taken my meds, because I'm dysregulated. All the people who are working on the weekend are teenagers under the age of 18. So 15 to 18, because we do hire 15-year-olds, I guess, or the store hires. I shouldn't say we because I'm not part of that. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Teenagers are working, and I don't have problems. Please understand, I'm not an ageist. I don't have problems with teenagers as human beings. I have a problem with the lack of work ethic that happens when a manager is not there. The shift leaders do not demand the same kind of authority slash respect, I've come to realize, from the teen staff as the managers do from the teens. So normally the teens end up working the night shifts after the managers have gone home because, of course, during the day they're at school, so they can only work the night shift. And it's the weekend, so it's the teens there plus the shift leaders rather than the full-time managers. And because that happens, they just dick around the entire time. They always go everywhere together with their buddy. They can't ever go and do anything by themselves. They goof off and goof around and don't do things with any sort of haste. They take their time. It's frustrating for me. It's really frustrating for me because I am there to work. I'm not there to goof off. I'm not there to make friends. I am here to do this job because it's the only job I have right now. I am still applying for other jobs with the hopes that I get a better job that pays me what I need in order to survive. But if I can't, and my spouse gets another job, then as it is right now, I'll be able to keep the job I have, and he'll be able to get the job that he has, and we'll be able to afford potentially a two-bedroom apartment when he gets here. As it is right now, not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to make enough money working to afford a two-bedroom apartment. I might be able to do a one-bedroom potentially, but the preference is two bedrooms. That way we don't have to move again immediately after he gets here or within a year of him getting here, just in case the elections go the way they do and my eldest stepson has to move here to live with us. So that's all on my shoulders right now. All of that. Um, as the day continues on during my shift, I can feel myself getting frustrated and angry with everything that's going on. One of my coworkers, who is a teenager, but is one of the teenagers who's a little bit more work oriented, at least in my perspective, decides he doesn't want to be there for the rest of the shift and asks to go home after I just got done complaining to him how fucking tired I am. So he bails on me, little shit. Um, and the other guy who's there isn't working counter with me. He's doing backstock. And he's doing it because he's fucking there to work. Um, but the two girls or whatever that are working the same shift as me that have the responsibility of being up front and doing cashiering, that they decide who gets to do it and the other one gets to bag by playing rock, paper, scissors. Because of course. Um, but they're not staying up there, which is fine. Again, if they were off doing actual freaking work and not just goofing off, I wouldn't care. But that's exactly what's happening. And they're not hasty when I call over the freaking intercom to come up and to cover my ass because that's happening. Thankfully, I haven't shit my brains out yet. But I, again, am tired and hungry and don't want to be there and dysregulated and unmedicated. And just I could feel it. I could feel my timer slowly counting down. And at 4 o'clock, I was finally able to go and take my break. I asked to take my break at 3:30. The person in charge said no. She said, please wait till 4. We got hit with a wave of people nonstop, just coming and coming and coming. And it was exhausting. A couple different times, shift leader had to come up to the front for managerial type things and to cover an error or something like that. I had a customer come into my lane who had 2 um, gift cards, and for whatever reason, I was struggling to get them to work because, again, all of those reasons I already pre-listed, I was not operating at 100% capacity. I finally go and take my break. I'm eating my food. I'm really frustrated and just pissed off. Um, as I'm co- and I'm wearing it on my face. It's pretty obvious that I'm not happy to be there. I sit down, and at one point, shift leader comes in and asks me how I'm doing. And I'm like, crappy. And before I can really stop myself, I just word vomit all over her and end up crying. Yay. I was trying so fucking hard not to cry. And granted, I did not cry like sobbing hard tears kind of cry. It was like this bitter, frustrated, angry, like solo tear that followed the cheek sort of cry. Um, and I said to her, I'm like, I didn't want to call out because I didn't want to get in trouble, but I wanted to call out because I feel like shit and I don't want to be here. And she's like, and you said you were late, right? Are you planning to stay till 8:15? I'm like, I mean, if you need me to, I will. And she's like, no. In fact, if you want to, go home at 6. And I looked at her like, are you kidding me? And she's like, no. I need you to help me with this one thing first before you go, if you can. I know you're the only cashier, like the main cashier right now. So if you can't do a lot, I understand. But if you could please do all of this between now and 6 after you get off your break, then you can go at 6. I don't care. Um, I thanked her. And that's essentially what ended up happening. Um I left at 6. Uh I also managed to get my bike home. But then I couldn't find my phone and it was turns out I dropped it outside. It fell out of my pocket when I was getting my bike out of the dude's trunk. That was a whole separate panic that I had. But that all of that happened yesterday. Um and that's why you should always take your meds on time and always make sure that they're filled. Because if you fall off your meds, it sucks. It sucks a fucking lot. And that's how I spent phone loss panic is the worst. You are 100% right. And it was raining. It wasn't raining hard. It was sprinkling, but it was I was terrified that I freaking got water in it and broke it. It's already hella busted because I've dropped it a couple different times. Um because I almost missed my bus a couple times and because I'm a fucking clumsy asshole a bunch of times. So my phone is practically at the point of no longer being functional. And I was just scared if I dropped it in the rain or in a proper rain and didn't find it, um, then it would be over. It's like I don't have any other phone right now. The house I'm in doesn't have a landline, so I would have to go without a phone, which is my only fucking alarm clock in addition to that. Well, my smartwatch might, but when I'm medicated and under asleep, I it takes a lot to wake me up. I have to turn my shit up so loud to be awake, to be alarm awoken. I missed a job interview at at the hostel when I first got here because of that, because I didn't have it. It didn't wake me up, and I couldn't ask anybody to wake me up because I felt uncomfortable doing that. Um, so all of that happened, and it was so bad. The reason I even found it, the reason I even found the phone was because I um used the Find My Phone feature that Google uses, because my phone is connected to Google, and it showed that it was in my fucking backyard. I missed my ancient Nokia. That thing went through the laundry, got thrown out the window on a highway, run over by a truck, and hucked out a third-story window onto concrete. Indestructible they were. You're fucking right, they were. Nokias were fucking god tier phones. Give me a second. I'm trying to get the moderator tool up. The phone made the chat window like this little skinny line, so I had to redo it because I need to. Uh, I could try and do it on the laptop. I just worry that it might be one window too many. Yeah, why aren't you bastard? Okay, hang on. um, yeah, I stopped though. Hopefully, it's just the chat that happens, and now it won't cause any problems. Fingers crossed. Um, the GPS in the phone was saying that the phone was in. It's catching up. Good. That the phone was in the backyard. And I'm looking up. I turn the ringer on it because you can do that through the phone locator, even if the phone is on vibrate. So that's a fucking pro tip for you right now. If you ever lose your phone and you do the Find My Phone feature through Google, it will ring even. Shut up. It'll ring even when it's on mute. And I was worried it was on mute, or at the very least had put itself on do not disturb because it was past my sleepy time. So I was looking all over the phone, hoping that it would ring. Couldn't hear it ringing. Could tell that the battery, based on the thing, said it was at 69%. Nice. Um, Thankfully, the phone didn't die. But I'm freaking out. I'm looking all over. I can't find it. I'm looking all over. I can't find it. I'm thinking maybe it's in this. Maybe it's in the Lyft driver's car. Maybe I dropped it in the Lyft driver's car. And uh, I can't call because there isn't a direct number to call Lyft to be like, hey, I lost my phone. But you have to go through their back door on their website. Again, nice. To get a hold of them, and they're supposed to call you back. And I have a VoIP number that I use when my phone isn't working. So I have a way for people to contact me even if I don't have a phone. This is a long before time story, but that's not the point. The point is, the guy, the Lyft driver, texted me and called me on my VoIP number to say he looked all over his car, couldn't find it. So I go outside with my high-powered flashlight, and that's when I was able to find the phone, face up in the rain. And it was, in fact, in the backyard. It was way in the backyard because he had taken me all the way um, the garage, which is behind the house, in order to help me get out. I didn't want him to, but he did, and I didn't argue with him because I just wanted to get in my fucking house. Um, but that's how I almost lost my phone, in addition to everything else that was happening. Thank God. Um, or whatever's, out there in the fucking universe listening to me ramble at nothing. You guys, thank you guys for covering my ass. Um, all of that shit happened within the last 3 days. I'm so like high level stressed out. And I got a message from the landlady's husband that he was coming to fix the washing machine thing today because I haven't had a washing machine? Dishwasher. I haven't had a dishwasher um for the month, which is fine. I don't care. I had to get hand washed it. I don't like hand washing dishes, and that's a whole ass other story. We've already been talking for 43 minutes straight. Um, oh, I don't know about straight. Anyway, he gets here to fix the dishwasher because I didn't have a dishwasher, blah 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 blah. They bought a new one, they installed it. They found out part of the reason why the old dishwasher didn't work was because there was a mineral deposit, a mineral deposit in the flow, yeah, the flow tube to get water into the dishwasher had a that was completely full with mineral deposit because the water here apparently is has a lot of minerals in it. Um, Also turns out he didn't actually need to replace it because the reason why the dishwasher wasn't working was because they had tripped a breaker box that was located outside of the house connected to the garage. And because he didn't know which of the 2 powered the house, like, had the connection to the house, he just turned them both off, and I hadn't checked it since then. So he flicked it on and it worked, and now the dishwasher works, and I have a new dishwasher, which is great. Um, I haven't checked to see if the door can open around it because that's another bad thing that is wrong with the friggin' kitchen. There's a cabinet door that can't be opened because the latch is literally stuck on the dishwasher, so I need to go and see. I'll go and check that later and report back. Um, so he came in, and I was waiting for him this morning for him to show up with that, and I was just kinda, like, low key, like, paralysis with that, being like, "I can't do anything because, like, I can't take a shower and I can't do anything because if he shows up and I'm, like, naked, that's gonna be fucking awkward, and I don't wanna worry about that, blah, blah, blah." Time for a 3-day nap, or if you're anything like me, 3 days sitting in the dark listening to soothing music because you can't sleep more than 2 hours at a clip. You know, Neff, we are the same. When I got home, after panicking about my phone, I took all my meds and I went the fuck to sleep. And I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning. I ate some food and then I went back to sleep. Um, because apparently that was why my body woke me up because as soon as I ate, I was back to sleep. Maybe it was just like a piggy tummy situation where my body was like, "Oh, you had some food and now you're full and now you want to sleep more." Either way, I went back to sleep. I got up at like maybe 9:30. But yeah, so I was waiting for him to get here with the dishwasher. It's all fixed and stuff now. So now I have a dishwasher. My oven still doesn't work, so they're probably gonna replace the oven. The top the gas range on top of the oven, 3 out of 4 work. Get good, try not sleeping for 3 days. Dude, I went to college. I know all about not sleeping for 3 days, plus just taking terrible care of ourselves, aren't we? Um, Insomnia is a cruel master. My spouse also has it. If it weren't for my meds, I would probably only sleep 4 hours a night. I would always be fucking tired. Thankfully, I have the CPAP, or I would have even worse sleep because I have hypopnea, which means that rather than having like proper obstructive sleep apnea, my breathing just becomes more and more shallow and the blood loss, like the lack of oxygen to my brain, etc. Um, Almost more insidious than obstructive, from what I understand. And apparently, I've had it all my life. They keep saying, "Oh, if you lose weight, it won't be happen." But the thing is I have always had shallow sleep breathing for as long as I can remember. My mom told me about that when I was little. Um, so that I knew about it, thankfully. We didn't know it was hypopnea. We didn't know it could be potentially giving me brain damage. Um, but suddenly it's like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." Like, fucking Christ, what? What? Yeah, no. It is. It's always lose weight. Fuck doctors. Um, but no, socialized medicine is bad. No, listen. Fuck doctors, okay? Just period. Full stop. Um, so fucking quiet. I'm used to air fans always being on because my spouse is really weird about still air. I don't have the same problem he does. So when it's silent in here, when there's nothing happening, I don't hear because all of the light fixtures and shit have just been replaced and upgraded and shit. So I can't hear any of the buzzing, like electronics buzzing. Yeah. So you have the same issue is what I'm hearing, Neff. You have to have fans like going, even if it's just like ceiling fans, whatever. I'm allergic to dust, so I can't breathe when the air does move. Yeah, so yeah, you do have more or less the same issue he does. Um, yeah, and that's fine. I don't mind when it's quiet. I have tinnitus also, so there's periods of time where my ears give me noise even if I don't want to hear any noise. Um, but yeah, like when everything stops making noise, like it is so quiet in here and it's kind of nice. That will immediately, of course, change as soon as I have my cat again, because my cat is a loud boy. Um, and like the nearest ticking clock is in the bathroom upstairs. Normally, I can't handle repetitive noise, like pattern repetitive, I should say. Um, yes, shut the fuck up, me is right. Um, um, so that's a trip too. It is so different here than Arizona. And when I first got here, I was able to go outside in the daytime, which is a fucking shocker. And I was doing so much walking to the point where my body fucking hurt because I was walking so much. I'm currently wearing two pairs of headphones because I have to have music on in the background, even watching Twitch, and the music will drown you out if you're not in a separate ear. Ah, gotcha. Okay. So, like earbuds and then over ears, is that what you have? That makes sense. Um, and it's totally cool. I don't even care about that. I hate that my shit is reflecting on my glasses. Um, but yeah, so it's been a couple days. I feel so much more safe and comfortable here in this rental house than I do at the hostel. Not that I didn't feel safe in the hostel necessarily, but I felt a lack of privacy. And I definitely felt like I couldn't be active when I wanted to be active because there were like quiet times from like 10 p.m. to 9 a.m. Can't watch Twitch and YouTube at the same time. Yeah. Depending. I know people who can put a movie on and also watch Twitch and also play video games at the same time, and I'm like, "You're a crazy person. Props to you." Um, I don't have that kind of in unrelated news, I'm now gonna order some beef. Cool. If you did, I'm glad. Cool, cool. Anyway, so yeah, the house is nice. I may or may not be getting a housemate, according to Jennifer. You missed my first message. Oh, earbuds and over ear. I definitely did not duct tape two pairs of headphones together because I am far smarter than to do that. Oh. buddy, my friend. Oh, okay. Anyway, um, what? So also, because I'm more of a night person than I am a day person. I just feel more productive at night. I've never been very good about waking up early, even when I was in like high school. I had to take fucking uh caffeine pills and coffee and shit when I was in high school because I had untreated uh apnea issues, hypopnea issues. And I was a teenager and fucking hormonal and shit and just was really bad about sleeping. Um So I just I've never been good with mornings. And when I was an adult, there was a brief period of time where I had a job where I had to get up at like 6:30 in the morning. I fucking hated that job. I can stay up like from 12 a.m. to like 5 a.m. and not feel a damn thing. But if you have me go to sleep at 10 p.m. and get up at 5 a.m., I will be the nastiest, meanest person. Just this total grump, not happy to be awake, not happy to be here, not interested in talking to anybody, not interested in smiling. Don't fucking talk to me, even after I've had my coffee. At least until half past noon. And then I'm a bit more of a normal person. Can't really do that at the grocery store though. Thankfully, I haven't had to open at the grocery store, and I'm hopefully never going to open. That was one of the questions they asked me in the interview was, what shift kind do you want? And when are you at your best? And I said, I am definitely a afternoon evening person. So if you need afternoons and evenings, I've got you fucking covered. I didn't say fucking in the interview, but you get the idea. Um, thank goodness for that. The downside right now, of course, is because I'm not driving, it's pitch dark out at night and I have to walk home or take a lift, which is what I've been doing, which is money I don't have. So well, I do have, but it's not, you get the idea. I don't have a lot of money. I'm making just barely like a butthole hair above minimum wage. But it's a job, right? It's a job. And people are scared. You're 100% right. Even in the state I am currently in, where people are supposedly very nice, nicer than normal. If you know where it is, no, you don't, and don't say it in chat. Um, I still don't like walking at night alone and would prefer to either be picked up or have a car. So I'm looking at an e-bike potentially, because an e-bike will be much faster than a regular bike and won't and there'll be pedal assist, so I'm not literally giving myself like an asthma attack on my way up a hill because I also have, you guessed it, exercise induced asthma. Undiagnosed, but that's absolutely 100% what it is. That's one of the things I'm gonna get tested for this year. I was gonna get tested and then COVID happened. I am not a fan of people and I'm lucky enough to present as a large, angry looking bald guy. Big thumbs up for you, dude. I'm non-binary and I look like this, but I still get mammed and cheated and hurt all fucking day, and that also just causes the worst dysphoria ever. Um, so yeah. Uh Glad to have this place. I was theoretically looking at possibly doing like 1 hour um, room rentals at the library because I can do that, but it's only 1 hour, which isn't very long for. I mean, it is for recording and reading. You can do an hour of reading, and that's good content, for at least two to three episodes slash streams because most people can't sit and listen to something for an hour straight. That being said, I think I was only able to do those once a week at the library. I'll look into that a little more later, but I don't need to even worry about it now because I can do that here. Um, and if and when I get a roommate, I'll just, negotiate times to do that or whatever, or go and record in the basement. Um, but yeah, I feel significantly better here. I'm working out the I have an envy, but as I can't achieve my androgynous dream, I'm willing to present mask in public. Me too, man. Buddy. Now I gotta do that. I gotta remember to do that. Um, yeah. Yeah. Bro fist, my dude. Um, it's been 1 week? No. Uh, I'm enjoying this new place. I'm hoping my spouse gets here sooner rather than later. I'm getting quite sad, being without my spouse and my cat. I'm, like, significantly getting more sad every every day. But we've been talking pretty consistently, and I'm hoping and I've been hearing my cat yowling for food in the background, so I know he's alive. Fuck. Spouse is also taking pictures and sending me pictures, so I have those. Um, and I've been talking to other humans too, so I'm not talking just to my spouse. I'm not really making friends at work because, again, most of the people I'm working with are teenagers. The older people are working in the mornings. Go figure, right? Um, and I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to stay upbeat. I did go to one pagan meetup right when I got here. I haven't been able to go to the other one. That was like this month. I went to the one from last month, but not this month because this month one I was working that day. If I can figure out what day next month's one will be, I can maybe put in a request not to work that day. Maybe. Um, because she was really kind and willing to pick me up and take me. It ended up just being the two of us, which was kind of a bummer, but she was really nice to me. We had a nice time. Um, Very few things to be bummed about with that. So I'm trying to make friends. Um, because this is gonna be the forever home now in this general vicinity. So I need to try and make actual human connections with other human beings and in the real world and not just online and stuff. Anyway, uh there is a really awesome like folk school downtown that like has different classes and stuff. I'm really excited to potentially spend a lot of money taking their classes, because they just seem really freaking cool. There was a basic sewing class just the other day I ended up missing because of work, where you would have learned how to do a lunch sack with a buckle and stuff. It looked really fucking cool, and I'm so bummed that I missed out on it. Um, there was a letter blocking class, I wanna say it was called. Obviously couldn't make that one either. That was because I didn't have the money though, not because I didn't wanna go. But they offer a whole bunch of classes, and I'm really excited to go and potentially meet people doing that. The library has a monthly, like, adult crafting night sort of thing, that I'd like to potentially go to, as long as I can get the day off or whatever. As it is right now with the grocery store, he puts the schedule out every like 2 weeks in advance. So it actually as long as I can get the date of whatever thing I need to do in ahead of time, I can put the request in, and as long as it works out, I should be able to get them. So in that way, even though I hate the job pay, I could potentially do that, you know? And I also am trying to do this whole streaming thing. Eventually, I'll make affiliate, right? And potentially could make some additional income from that. Maybe, not a lot, because it's a niche thing, which is why I'm trying to do other things too, and not just reading, but also like other things that could potentially draw in more people. I don't know. Talking about maybe trying to get back into reading books. I did find you on Kofi, Z. I did, and I followed you back. um, I like playing games, indie games, and other types of games, and like, doing little mini reviews on them. I really wanna finish, Love Burb. Um, I might completely start over because I don't remember all of the details. I haven't played it well I haven't it's a short enough game, and I've played it inconsistently enough that I don't remember all the details of all of the dates, and I think I would still want to do it anyway because it was goofy, and it's I guess you have different endings based on who you settle for, right? So I have to do at least play it 3 or 4 more times to get the different endings, right? That's how that works? And that would be fun, um, to do on stream, is get the different endings. There's a couple other, like, what are they called? Graphic it's not graphic novels, visual novels, because 'cause they're video games. And I did play one on stream, I think, but I can't remember. I'm gonna have to go back and look. But there's a couple other ones that I've looked at that I'm kinda interested in doing. So I've got, like, 5 or 6 other little things that I could do in addition to just reading and playing video games. And I do definitely wanna play freaking Minecraft with you, Cozy. Um, I found a mod for Java that I haven't been able to find any sort of Bedrock equivalent for that I really wanna play now. So I might actually start a Java world and do that since I have both. I don't know if it's gonna have the same username though, because reasons? I know you are, because you love modded. Modded is your thing, and Bedrock mods are touchy at best. I still prefer play style on Bedrock, I'm not gonna lie, but if you wanna do any kind of fucking modded, you have to do it on Java. If I wanna do anything with any of the other content creators that I've seen online, I'm gonna have to do Java. Um, that's just the facts, and I hate that, but it is what it is. But it's a T! It's a T mod, and you know how I feel about TZ, I gotta do it. Yeah, exactly, Neff. Love some Bedrock, but I also love building gold farms on the roof. Yeah, it's one thing you can't do. Well, not only that, but like shaders. I can't do shaders on my rig because my rig is too old. If I tried to do shaders on my rig, my computer would slow down to like fucking 1 kilobyte per second. There's no way. If I get a new computer, maybe, which I might, I'm quote unquote you get the idea. It would be fun to um that and you can keep inventory and still get advancements. Yeah, because that's one of the things that Bedrock doesn't let you do. You can't keep cheats on and also get advancements. I've also been watching this one content creator a lot because I'm interested in this mod, not necessarily because I want to play it, but because I want to see another content creator play it. So I'm trying to encourage them to play it because I think it would be really fun. And they already said that they really would like to find more ways to like lengthen um, early game because that's where they have the most fun. When they get to late game, they lose interest in their shit. So it might be fun for them to do this. And I think it would be fun to watch them do it. I just have to, do that. And I also need to continue to play I need to continue to do build contests if I want to get into this stupid little private SMP. I still haven't done it. I've applied 3 times. I've built something 3 times, and all 3 times I wasn't good enough, but whatever. They'll eventually run out of people who are good enough, and then there'll be me. Um, I think we both just decided Java. Yeah, well, yeah. Um, what was else? What was that? Um, so reading, ASMR reading, indie games, book reviews, because I wanna get back into NetGalley book reviewing, which means I'm gonna have to read off stream with those because those ones I shouldn't be reading on stream because they're brand new books and the author might be their first book and I don't wanna make shit. I would have to reach out to the author and ask. And maybe that's something I do. Maybe I become a streamer who interviews authors and shit and read and maybe gets the permission to read one chapter of their book on a stream. Who knows? It would require my charisma score to be a little bit higher, which it's pretty high already, but I haven't used it a lot recently, so I kinda need to, like, up my game a little bit. But maybe I can do that. Could be fun. Could be fun. I would enjoy that. I did get permission from my favorite author to read his books, so I can do that. Thank you, Neff. Um, I think I could do that, and it would feel like I can't say it would be unique/niche enough because I know there are other people who do that, but it would feel good to do it. I feel like I would fit it would definitely be me pursuing something that I've always loved doing and using my degree, to some merit, some measure, because I have a bachelor's in library in fucking I can't say library science. It's not library science. That's what I wanted was a master's in library science, but the bachelor's is in English literature. And I more or less in college made my own kind of pathway with it and did adaptions. So I could possibly review adaptions. That could be another thing I do. Um, um, I just was talking with my spouse the other day because the eldest stepson is having to read Pride and Prejudice for school. I had to read Pride and Prejudice for college because I had to do a pre-1900s literature class. It's a requirement for the degree, at least the degree path at the school that I went to. So I had to do that, and I also had to do a Shakespeare class. I have mixed feelings about Shakespeare. Um, but in both cases, so Pride and Prejudice, he's not enjoying reading it. I don't blame him. Jane Austen is Jane Austen. Let's just say it that way. If you're not used to reading books written by people like Jane Austen, it's going to be difficult to read a book like Pride and Prejudice. That's why people really love the miniseries that was produced with fucking Colin Firth. Colin Firth? I think it's Colin Firth. I think it's Colin Firth. I always get the Collins mixed up. Uh, Waiting for the lag to stop. Colin Firth as Mr. Darcy. Most people know that version of like a film adaptation style of Pride and Prejudice. That being said, that was a very specific era of time. Listen, Neff, I will get into that in a second. Give me a second. So a lot of people know that version of Pride and Prejudice as an adaptation that they've seen in the miniseries slash movie. So like a 4 hour, 6 hour, 8 hour miniseries. I don't remember. Very, very faithful to the book. Um, then there was the Keira Knightley version that came out in I want to say the early aughts, or maybe yeah, it was definitely the early aughts. I remember that. There was also a book adaptation called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is incredible and amazing. And then they took that adaptation and they put it into a film. So we got to see that. And that was also incredible and amazing. And my spouse remembered me talking about it when I was going off on an adaptions tangent with him one day. So he suggested that to my stepson. And that was how my stepson was able to more or less finish his assignment, was because he was watching Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and listening to an audiobook. I was so proud. Let me just say that. I was so proud. It was so great. Oh my gosh. I loved that for him. And I loved that in general. And I would love to do that. I would love to do like breakdowns on on silly shit like that. I think that would be so fun. Exactly. Zombies make everything better. I'm doubling back really quick, Neff, so I can read what you said because I have thoughts and feelings about it. Shakespeare is easy. Rowe made plays. They're hard to read because they're in language we haven't spoken in centuries, but he also gave us many, many of the insults I keep chambered. You are correct, except The Walking Dead. That's true. See. You are correct. Um, Here's how this is what I feel, and I've said this before, but I've never said it on stream, so I'm going to put it on record right now. This is how I feel about Shakespeare. Shakespeare is a playwright. He writes material meant for the stage. And in that way, he's phenomenal. Yes, he has written sonnets, but most people don't talk about the sonnets the same way they do when they talk about his plays. The problem is the English department has canonized Shakespeare and made him something of a demigod to the department. So you cannot go through an English degree program without having to spend a big chunk of time on Shakespeare's works, not just his sonnets, his entire playwrights books and shit. All of it. All of it. They are plays. They are not meant to be read off the fucking page like a novel. And because they're so archaically written, the language of the time is so different now that most people, when they are forced to read Shakespeare, are bored out of their fucking skulls. They don't want to read Shakespeare. They have no interest in reading Shakespeare. And I am one of those people who hates reading Shakespeare's plays. I hate reading them because I am an entertainer. I am, as the title suggests, I am a bard. Bards are not just readers, bards are performance artists. They perform their works. And if you can't read Shakespeare out loud, theatrically, and be entertaining, what is the fucking point of reading Shakespeare? So when I took that Shakespeare class and I had to read out loud, which I did several times, in fact, I fucking performed. And my teacher fucking loved me. And he loved me so much he kept making me read. Okay, I'll see you and talk to you later, Z. If you can come back later, you can. If not, that's fine too. Um Not only can I read, but I can also sing, and I enjoy singing, and I would sing on stream, but I don't have the shit prepped for that. So that'll be another project for another time. But the point being is that um, there were a couple songs in Shakespeare's works that I also know and learned and performed in class. um, and I had just read something recently about specifically about Romeo and Juliet. I'll now double back to talk about Jane Austen in a second because there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about with specifically with regards to Pride and Prejudice. Um, the version of Romeo and Juliet, the film that I remember watching in school, was like a 70s version of it, 60s, 70s, something in there. It was a very well loved adaptation. But it was very dated when I watched it, and that was in like fifth or sixth grade. Was it sixth grade? Yes, the one with the boobs. Um, And obviously, that's a whole thing too. Like, oh my gosh, the boobs. You're gonna show a movie with boobs in a class? I mean, fucking Christ, they're boobs, okay? Let's not even get into how people over sexualize human bodies. Anyway, um, yeah, so it's like, okay, ow, I can feel where I scratched my head. Um, the version that people are watching in movies in classrooms now is the Baz Luhrmann version. That's the popular version that they're showing in classes now. And listen, I adored Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. I loved that version. I played it for my spouse and he was fucking judgy and I got so mad at him for that because I remember watching Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet when it came out in theaters, when it first showed on TV. I loved it. I loved the soundtrack. I loved the fucking movie. I loved the actors they chose. It was so good. And to this day, I treasure that fucking version. I truly do. And the fact that that's the version that they watch in high schools now fucking tickles me to death. I am so amused and amazed that that is the thing. It's so great. And I hope eventually that they make another version in the aughts, um, the 2020s, the 20 whatever. I hope they make a version sometime soon that's equally amazing in whatever way. Like I know for a fact that what is it? The musical. What is the name of that musical? I feel like I should know that name, but I'm still exhausted from spending 20 minutes reading for a narrator that was having an emotional breakdown. Yes, that is the 90s version one with Leo. Yes, that is correct. Baz Luhrmann also did um, Moulin Rouge and a couple other things. Like Moulin Rouge and Romeo and Juliet were two of his most well-known pieces of work, to my understanding. If that is not correct, I'm sorry. Um, and also like the Mercutio they chose. Like fucking bless. That entire fucking scene was so all of the scenes with that actor playing Mercutio were so amazing. Bro fucking blew it out of the park. He was so great and I loved it. And fucking John Leguizamo as Tybalt, also incredible choice. Also fucking amazing. He did so great as Tybalt. I loved him as Tybalt. I loved him. I truly did. That film was just so great. Oh my god. That one was a banger. I don't know if I'd say it's a good representation of the play, what the modernization, the pistols ruined the duels. And that's the thing about adaptions. When they're done correctly, they're great. I think the problem with pistols as a dueling item is that they are truly a one-hit thing. Bottom 10. Um, the point of a pistol is to take one shot and do the most damage with that one shot when you're dueling. So in that regard, as one-on-one dueling, it's not as good. If they're doing like big group scenes where everybody is fighting, if it's a big group scene of people fighting, it works a little better because shootouts are totally a thing, and the chaos from a shootout, from a gunfight, is just as crazy as a group of people all fighting swords at the same time. I think in that way, the pistols are perfectly fine. But on a one-on-one case, it's a lot more it's a lot harder to work in that way. Um, but yeah, no, like, oh, I could probably spend quite a lot of time talking about that specific adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. And the fondness I have, again, that it's being used as an example of that work in classrooms is great. And also as a side note, as an addendum to that, and it tickles me thinking about it too, because I didn't know it until I watched it. I wanna say what is it, like Hot Fuzz, I wanna say? Hot Fuzz features a character, like an actor and his girlfriend, I guess, or something like that, and they do a stage adaptation. They do a stage adaptation of the fucking movie, which is a modernization of Romeo and Juliet, and they do it in the film, and it's like a tiny little fucking, like, 3 or 5 scenes, and they're not even, like, full scenes. Shaun of the Dead, but with cops. Yeah, that's Hot Fuzz. Yes, correct. It is. Yeah. It's Hot Fuzz. It's a couple of scenes and like the local newspaper shits on that production so bad and plot stuff happens afterward and I just the fact that they did that and that I immediately recognized what they were doing and my spouse was like, "I don't understand why they're doing it that way." And I'm like, "Have you never seen the 90s Romeo and Juliet by Baz Luhrmann with Leo and fucking um, Claire Danes. Are you telling me you've never?" And so we immediately that was the launch point from that point because I have it on DVD. I have the version on DVD that was one of the first versions released on DVD. So it's got the old ass first DVD style menu and replay sounds and all that other shit. It's so old and I love it and I don't care what anybody says. I love it. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. I stan that stupid fucking movie and baby face fucking Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, and it's just I love it. And fucking John Leguizamo and just it's just I love that stupid movie. I don't care what anyone says. And I will stand on that hill and die on it because I love it. I don't know how it would go over stream because stream watchers like different things than video watchers. But you doing a deep dive on Romeo and Juliet and guns probably do big numbers on YouTube. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I'll think about that. It could be fun. Um, I could maybe play clip stuff. That would be like if I did it right, it wouldn't be considered it would be fair use if I did it the correct way. If I'm not just showing the fucking movie and stopping it and talking about it. Like I've seen streamer or not streamers, but first time watchers do shit like that on YouTube. Where they yeah. Anyway, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's entirely possible. I could totally do it. And I could do side by sides. Like here's this scene from this version of this adaptation. Here's this scene from this version from this adaptation. What do you think they did? You know, this is what I think they did good, bad. One did better than the other, blah 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 blah. Um and that would be great content, I guess. That would be fun. That would be fun stuff to do. I would really need to up my recording game in order to do that properly. And I'm not afraid that I couldn't do it. It's more just I need to make sure that I have the right equipment and all of that shit to put myself in the ability to do that. Getting back to Jane Austen. Um, Getting back to Jane Austen and Pride and Prejudice specifically, there was also the Lizzie Bennet diaries, which were done on YouTube with not Tom. Wow, brain. Wrong Green altogether. Hank Green and his little his company, his side project that he did. He did a whole thing on like uh like a 2000s uh YouTube style episodic episodic version of Pride and Prejudice known as the Lizzie Bennet Diaries and had some like um ARG stuff linked into it as well and websites and stuff like that, and I thought that was incredible. It was so good. I watched that from beginning to end in real time as they were doing it. It was so great, and I would love to talk about that with regards to Jane Austen and Pride and Prejudice specifically. And my nemesis book, though, from college, from English department, my nemesis book was Wuthering Heights. I absolutely fucking hated reading Wuthering Heights. And not only do I hate that I had to read it for my degree program. I had to read that fucking book 3 separate times for school. And I say read 3 separate times, but that's not true. I definitely only read it once and fucking hated reading it more than anything in the world. And the other 2 times I had to read it, I read fucking cliff notes and other bullshit because I sure as fuck did not want to read that damn book again. I hated every second of Wuthering Heights. And the Brontes in general, I do not care for Wuthering Heights at all to date, and this is going to be one hell of a hot take probably. The only book that I had more trouble reading than Wuthering Heights is A Song of Ice and Fire. I actually finished a couple chapters of Wuthering Heights. I might get side-eyed real hard for this, but I have never read um whatever the fuck author name that is. Uh George R. R. Martin. I've never read any of his books. I did not watch um yeah. I did not watch Game of Thrones when it was on television. I sure and part of me is glad because I heard how badly it ended and I heard the riots in the streets of fandom and I felt like, you know what? I missed a train. I got over the tracks with more than enough time to spare to not get hit by that train. I feel fine about it. I hear there's also the whole prequel series as well, which fucking whatever. Not gonna watch that either. Um, but yeah, that's also something worth talking about is the differences because I guess I could probably I don't know if I have anything new to add to the fucking discourse of talking about the difference between um Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like, I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions, and that shit has been out for a very long fucking time. So I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have anything new to add, and I'm not enough of a fucking Alchemist fan to really like give enough of a shit um to fight fan gamer fan geeks and shit about it. So maybe I'll leave that alone. Um but book adaptions I can do. I watched all the Peter Dinklage scenes, but considering I fell asleep in the first 12 pages of the first chapter of the first book, yeah, nah, I'm not paying for HBO. I would have never paid for HBO. I would have fucking pirated it the entire time. I am not afraid to say that I'm a pirate. Um, so like the second or third read through of Wuthering Heights, I remembered watching a couple different movie versions of Wuthering Heights to get through the slog of it because I had zero interest in having to read that fucking book again. And save my piracy for things I really want to see. Yeah, that's true. That's also true. Um I need to work on my ums. You can see the reflection of my fucking TV on the window. um so there had been like right when I first was watching the movies, there had just recently been an adaptation of Wuthering Heights that had been filmed, that I actually really ended up liking. They made, uh, fuck, I blacked out his name because I just don't even want to. Heathcliff. They made Heathcliff's actor mixed race, which I thought was amazing and absolutely works with the source material if you read it and really read it properly because it absolutely hints that Heathcliff is mixed race. But any other adaptation you've ever seen of Wuthering Heights, the dude is always white as fuck. So I really loved that. I really loved that they made him mixed race. And that particular version I really enjoyed watching of all of them. However, they did not address the necrophilia scene in that version the way they did in the first version that I watched. And that particular version also had Kathy's actress also play Kathy's daughter, almost in a Peter Pan style where they always make Hook and Mr. Darling the same actor. So I really enjoyed that aspect of that adaptation, but I really preferred the adaptation that was newer because it was just better filmed in my opinion, um the on location was so much better in my opinion. Like that genuinely got the feeling of that landscape down perfectly in my very humble opinion. Um I also really love I had to read Frankenstein 3 times, and I really actually loved Frankenstein. So that was not a problem for me. And I've also genuinely loved almost every single adaptation, like movie adaptation of Frankenstein. I haven't seen the more recent one that was specifically about Mary Shelley with one of the Fanning sisters as Mary. And I'm really, really interested in watching that. And I think it's on in YouTube movies for free with commercials right now. And because I have premium through a friend, I can watch it without commercials. So I might go and watch that. Um, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I think I have tomorrow off, but I don't remember. I'm gonna go and look real quick on my calendar. 'Cause I might actually have not have 2 days off. Gonna double check. I enjoyed Frankenstein enough that I thought I was going to write a musical adaptation about it. This was before I realized I'm a terrible songwriter. Mm, I'll come back to that in a second. So I do work tomorrow, 3 to 9. Okay. Well, I could still watch it if I work at 3. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll watch it after stream. Um some of the adaptions have been like the really, really old ones are bordering on comical. But the newer ones are better, in my opinion. Like they hit the gravitas of the work in a really great way. And I'd love to see the film recorded stage adaptation. Welcome back, Cozy. The film recorded stage adaptation that Johnny Lee Miller and Benedict Cumberbatch did. And I heard so many good things about that play version because they depending on the night, I want to say, something or another, they flipped roles. So Johnny Lee, cool. Johnny Lee Miller would play Frankenstein one night, and then the next day he would play the monster. And that thrills me. Like, I'm so interested in watching both of their performances because Johnny Lee Miller and Benedict Cumberbatch are incredible actors, both of them. Um, and I find it especially funny that they did Frankenstein together when they also both individually did versions of Sherlock Holmes. And that's another one. Another big one is the works of Sherlock Holmes and the adaptions that were made of it. Like all of the different films plus the different television series. Like there's so much interesting stuff. And I remember I was just in the middle of doing um a unit on Sherlock in college in one of my classes. We read 3 or 4 of his um of Sherlock stories in the class. And we had just finished reading about uh not Moriarty, which don't even get me started on Moriarty. Everybody makes Moriarty out to be Sherlock's biggest fucking nemesis. But he's not his biggest fucking nemesis in the book series. Moriarty is in like 2, maybe 3 of the stories. Seriously, they make him out to be like this big fucking deal, and he's really not that big of a fucking deal. There's not a single adaptation of the Holmesian canon that gets everything right, and there hasn't been a good modern one in a very long time, in my opinion, obviously. One book, one bloody book. See? Thank you. I think they maybe mentioned him in 2 additional books, but one book. Yeah, he was in one fucking book, and they make it out like he's the biggest fucking deal in the whole canon. Like, give me a fucking break. Listen though, hasn't been a good modern one in a very long time. I present to you The Great Mouse Detective. Mic drop. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to fucking say. I absolutely loved The Great Mouse Detective. It's been 40 years. I fucking loved The Great Mouse Detective. It is slept on. It is absolutely slept on. And I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. That is one of my very favorite adaptions of the Sherlock of the Sherlock stories. Basil was amazing. That entire fucking movie was incredible. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. See, that's what I played in my head when I said it's been 40 years because I've seen other shit borrow from that fucking meme. Um so I absolutely fucking loved The Great Mouse Detective. It was great. It was amazing. More people need to watch that stupid ass movie. It's so great. And Radigan, top tier Moriarty stand-in. Radigan was the best. And his song was fucking boss as hell too. I know some people are gonna be mad at me, but I preferred Elementary to Sherlock when it was airing. I Yeah. I actually really, 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 really loved the modern take that Elementary took. I feel like Sherlock, the BBC version, was trying too hard to be 100% faithful to the source material. Whereas the Elementary version rode the line. It was a lot more spiritually true to the source material. And I believed, yeah, exactly. I believed that I believed Johnny Lee Miller's Sherlock a lot more than I believed Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock. And that's not to say that either of them acted better than the other or that either of them performed the role, like their interpretation of the role better. I just really preferred Elementary. And especially the way they treated his addiction, like his addiction problems. Exactly. He wasn't a dick in the books. And Sherlock, BBC made him out to be a huge fucking dick. It was very um the way they treated Sherlock's addiction in Elementary was fucking top tier. It was so accurate, not only to Sherlock's addictions, but to addicts in general and the way they feel when they're on their recovery from addiction. I have family members that suffer from addiction and some have died from that. So like the one of the lines from Elementary that stays with me. Thank you. The audio clip can't play because I don't have it attached. But I will figure that out too eventually. The line that was said was um, I think Moriarty had said to him, "So you're what did she say? Something along the lines of, so you're not addicted anymore. You're not a drunk. You're not an alcoholic. You're not an alcoholic anymore." And he said, "No, I'm sober now." And that hit me really fucking hard in the chest, in the gut, in the heart, because that is 100% true to alcoholism. And I have seen that firsthand with my mom and my dad and my grandfather, and talking about it with my spouse because he had a hard time with alcoholism for a while. But his problem with alcoholism wasn't the same as it was with someone like my mom, who is to this day still an alcoholic. Um, you never stop being an alcoholic. You never stop being an addict when you have an addiction like that. It's really true that it's not that you're no longer an addict. It's that you're sober now. And that holding on to that sobriety, tooth and claw, and yeah, I'll touch on that in a second. Holding on to that sobriety, tooth and claw on the hardest days can be so fucking challenging. So fucking challenging, especially when shit gets so fucking bad that it becomes near impossible. Like you are fighting yourself, and that is so hard. Sorry. Um so that line sticks with me even now. Like I will never ever forget that line, and it was such a almost like a throwaway line. You could tell by the way Johnny was acting that it was so fucking good. He did it so perfectly. I love that fucking episode. I loved it. Um and that whole series, I need to finish it. I actually never fully finished it, so I need to go back and finish the rest of that series. I might just start over from the beginning because I loved it from the beginning, and I would have no problem rewatching it. And it's been enough years now, and it actually came up on my TV briefly recently. And I sat and watched, and I was like, "Fuck, I miss this series. It's so good. It was so good." To this day, I loved it. And just the cast. Oh my god, the cast was so great on Elementary. I loved the fucking cast on that stupid ass show. All right, coming back to what Neff was saying. Low key, Psych is one of the better Sherlock adaptations we've seen in the last however long. Sean is an impulsive, immature child, but he's not a dick. And while he doesn't explain his methods like Sherlock would have, the rest of the show really has good Holmes vibes. Bloody well better than House. I agree with you 100%. I didn't watch all of Psych, but the stuff I did watch, I really enjoyed. I might go back and watch that too because it's been, however long since it's been finale'd. Excuse me. Um, yeah, in both cases, both of those, and that's another great example of adaptions that are quote unquote modern, but aren't exact. Like if you didn't know, if somebody didn't tell you, you would never guess that House was based on Sherlock. You could possibly guess that Psych was based on Sherlock, but definitely not House. I never ever got in the whole time that I watched House until I was told, until I learned that he was based on Sherlock. And even then, I don't feel like it's um a one-to-one comparison, especially if you take into consideration all of the interns. Um like I didn't see any comparable characters from like um Cuddy and uh 13 and shit like that. I didn't get any sort of Sherlockian vibes from any of their characters. I did get it from House. I did get it from uh what's his face? Fucking his buddy. Um, but I didn't really get it from the rest of the cast. So I don't I didn't I yeah, you get where I'm going with that. Um I remember seeing the episode they did in Sherlock and the episode they did in Elementary that was a call to the one guy that Sherlock actually like practically spits on his fucking name. I have to look it up now because my brain I need to go look at that too. It's been a long enough time from the content material and I haven't been reading it and consuming it lately that I'm forgetting like little details like names and stuff. Um Sherlock adversaries. I can spell adversaries. I loved Elementary's Irene way more than I loved Sherlock's Irene. Not to say that Sherlock's Irene wasn't great. She was great. And they took away her agency by making her a damsel in distress. Like she was so bitchin' as a fucking like dominatrix and shit. Like that was incredible. And the way she was on his fucking level with her smartness. And in that way, she was right on. Yeah, exactly. She was right on in that way in the show. Um, and the twist in Elementary's version of Irene was amazing. But I also really loved both versions of Moriarty. I thought BBC Sherlock's Moriarty was maybe a little extra capital E. um, but I really enjoyed the actor's presentation of the character and his interpretation of the character. I thought he did a great job. But I loved how they treated Moriarty in Elementary. She was fucking amazing. And I'm so excited. Notice how we haven't talked about any of the RDJ versions of fucking Sherlock because we're not going to talk about them because I fucking hate them so much. Um, I'll talk about them eventually, but not right now. Oh, there was one other one I really want to see. I never got a chance to see it in theaters, and I regret that. But I really want to see the Colin Farrell fucking Sherlock one with fucking what's his name? Oh my god, the other guy that did Step Brothers with him. The same guy. They did a Sherlock and adaptation that was a comedy and I really regret not seeing that one when it was in theater. Oh my god. I might have to do like a fucking first time watch of that and record that and see how I can do that in a way that's content worthy because that would be such a fucking fun movie to watch. Oh, that would be so fun. I'm really I'm really curious to see how well they did. Um, okay, let me scroll through this thing because I got distracted. Milverton. The way I thought the Milverton story was one of the best Sherlock stories. Like I really, really loved it. It was great. And to see how like passionately angry, like the pure vitriol that Sherlock spoke about Milverton on the page. Like you believed it. You knew the guy fucking hated that man. He hated him. and he would have done anything in his fucking power to take that man down. He's like, he basically was like, I'll do this for free. I'll do this for fun. I hate the guy. Please give me a reason to go after this motherfucker. I will do it. He could have used the wrong fork. I would happily take this motherfucker down a peg. That was the impression you got reading how much Sherlock hated Milverton off of the page. The version that was in BBC Sherlock was not good. I know I need to say more than that. But I didn't enjoy anything about him. I didn't enjoy how snide he was. I didn't enjoy that he was like Swedish or something like that. I didn't enjoy his own version of the Mind Palace. Like all of that shit, I was not even remotely. I didn't. I felt about BBC Sherlock's Milverton the same way I felt about Moriarty, but for different reasons. Like the fact that Moriarty in BBC Sherlock was so fucking extra, was almost a parody. It was still good, um, but it also was just a little. It was. I couldn't take it seriously the same way. I didn't get chills the way I got chills with Elementary's Moriarty. Um, it was they were not even on the same page. They were not even on the same level. You believed that Moriarty in Elementary was a criminal. And that was good shit. IMO in that regard. But you also didn't get the same vibe in terms of like intellectual. Like Moriarty was a scholar. He was an educated man. He knew a lot of shit, and in both cases I didn't quite get that same feeling, at least with the character of Moriarty. um Milverton, though, the version of Milverton that was in Elementary felt like the Milverton that was on the page. I appreciated that, and I enjoyed that version very much. um I'm losing the details of it because it was only a one episodic piece in both cases. They didn't linger on it nearly as much as they did with fucking Moriarty in both cases, with fucking Adler in both cases. Like they made these characters like so hugely part of the story. Or the overarching story, I should probably say. Um, but you want to talk about another really great adaptation. Uh the musical version, the musical version of Jekyll and Hyde. I It's so good. I really enjoyed the version, and I really wanna see a version of the musical that isn't fucking, um, David Hasselhoff. That's not to say David Hasselhoff isn't a great actor or musician, please don't misunderstand me, he's great. He's also camp as fuck, and I don't know if I can really truly enjoy the musical the way it's intended to be because I know how fucking camp David Hasselhoff is as an actor, as a performer. So I'd really love to see another version of it. I'm probably gonna try and hunt down a uh floor recording of it by somebody because I know they exist. Um, and I would love to watch that again. I really enjoyed how they dealt with um Jekyll and Hyde in the TV show. Oh god, what was it called? I only saw a couple episodes of it. before we stopped watching it together, me and my spouse. It was a gothic um series. Crap, what was it? Hang on. Penny Dreadful? I think that was it. I think that was it. Um, looking up real quick on my phone. Penny Dreadful. Bringing up the series, checking the cast list. Yeah, this is it. Because Eva Green is in it. She's great. Billie Piper was in it. Completely unexpected. Absolutely fucking loved her version. Her not her version, her character. It was great. Um, and I read like the Wikipedia page about the show, like in its entirety. And I'd really like to go back and rewatch it, like probably by myself, because I think the reason why my spouse couldn't handle it was because there was some triggering stuff for him in it. But I remember Jekyll and Hyde coming up in the show as a character, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. I really want to see where they go with that. Because so many people have so many different takes on the Jekyll and Hyde story because it's become a lot more pop culture in terms of like everybody uses it as an example of like a person with two sides and what that means. But the problem is that the pop culture version of understanding of Jekyll and Hyde is not the same as the actual version of Jekyll and Hyde. I think people forget that a lot. The way the two characters interact with each other and just some of the shit in the musical is so great because they use some really awesome practical visual effects when there are interactions between Jekyll and Hyde in the musical that are just so great. And there's like one or two songs that are just fucking bops. They're so good. Um, I wanna rewatch that soon. Um, God, 2 hours. Should probably wrap up. This has just been me straight up talking for 2 hours about fucking rambly shit in my head. Um, but successfully. This has been a successful stream. I'm so glad. Um, what are what's another example? But adaptions, because I'm way, way, way off track from where I first started with this. The thing I love about adaptions is how it takes the source material and makes it approachable to a modern audience, to an audience that maybe, yeah, to an audience that maybe otherwise would have never been exposed to that material. I know a lot of people who are traditionalists, who are loyalists to source material, get really upset about adaptions because a lot of adaptions are not a one to one perfect recreation of the material off the page. And if that's how they were first exposed to the material, um, I get it. And admittedly, at one point in my youth, I remember getting really pissed off at an adaptation for not being the book. Um, it for whatever reason, it was a hair in my butt about it, and I couldn't let it go, and I got really angry and mad about it, and I wouldn't even like I refused to watch it when it came out, and I refused to watch it for a couple years after it was available on DVD because I was just so like, no, I'm not gonna watch that. And then I finally did watch it, and I was like, no, I hate it. It's stupid. I hate it so much. I think I did end up rewatching it at some point in my adulthood. I don't even remember what it was about anymore. That's how far removed I am from the content. But I remember just being just totally turned off by it. Um, one example of this would be Peter Pan. Now, I have a really, really deep fond spot for Peter Pan and the source material and the author. I that was part of the reason I even went into my degree program because I was really interested in possibly doing that as a track, if it was available, because I had heard it was available at a couple different schools, but it didn't end up being available at my school, so I didn't get to do it. Children's literature, was definitely like a class, I wanna say, but it wasn't a track, and that bummed me out. Um, but I really love Peter Pan, the story, and J.M. Barrie is so great. Um, and then I started watching different versions of Peter Pan. The versions that were black and white, versions that were musicals, versions that were cartoons, versions that were, episodic stuff, like, in the middle of a series, and all of them had different elements that I loved, and I think that was what ended up having me change my study path in college since I couldn't do children's literature as a specific path, to do adaptions because I remembered all of the different Peter Pan adaptions that I had watched over the years and how much I enjoyed them and how I wanted to talk about that kind of stuff. Um, and one adaptation to leapfrog to the next thing because I don't want to spend too much time talking about specifically about Peter Pan because that'll be another hour all by itself. Um, one adaptation I know. I still do. I still do. You wanna talk about okay, I'll just a little one. Just a little sidetrack on Peter Pan adaptions. Hook, does anything else need to be said? I I absolutely loved Hook. Hook was probably my favorite movie for many, many, many years. It was the very first, um exactly. The very first DVD I purchased with my own money when DVDs first became a thing you could buy, um, because I had to own it. I needed to own it. It was so important to me to own it. I have the novelization of the movie, um, written and signed by the author, who wrote the novelization. Um, I absolutely 100% love Dante Bosco more than anything in the world, and I followed his entire career after Rufio. The fact that he still leans so hard into Rufio the character as like a breakout role, an important character that he played, as even now in his like 40s, late 40s, continues to be like a favorite. That one in the 2003 version because the music in 2003 music. Yeah, I'll touch on that in a sec too. Um, Hook was so incredible and amazing. Robin Williams was literally literally nobody else could have played that character as well as Robin Williams did. And I genuinely hope that nobody ever, 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 ever remakes that movie. I know it's dated now. Some of the technology is very obviously 90s technology. People are who watch it now might not have the same reaction that I did when I was a kid and I watched it. Because of that, because the technology is a little jarring now when you can fit like a phone that's literally the size of a pill bottle in your back pocket and it has fucking 50 uh gigabytes of space on it, that shit is crazy. I don't ever, ever want to see another version of Hook that isn't Robin Williams as Peter, isn't Dame Maggie Smith as Granny Wendy, isn't fucking uh Rufio and fucking oh god, what's his name? The person who actually played Hook. God. Uh fuck my brain. I'm hating that I can't remember off the top of my head. It's right there. I've been talking for 2 hours. I'm forgetting things. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Oh my god. That was a gut punch, wasn't it, Cozy? For different reasons, obviously. Not Jason Isaacs. Jason Isaacs was the 2003 Peter Pan, uh, Mr. Darling and Hook. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Give me just a second. I'm trying to pull up the movie. There it is. Where is it? Dustin Hoffman. Fucking Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman as Captain James Hook. Like, that was he was so great. He was so great. And I'm not saying that Jason Isaacs' Hook wasn't great. He was also a great version of Captain Hook. His version of Hook slash Mr. Darling was a great. Like, that version of Peter Pan, that film version of Peter Pan is also really amazing, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I definitely own that one also. And I loved it. It was so great. But Dustin Hoffman's Hook was so, like, regal and, like, evil, like, genuinely a bad motherfucker. He was so just oh, he was so great. Dustin Hoffman's Hook was great. I love Hoffman's Hook. That version in that film. And fucking Shmi. Oh my god. I still quote that stupid line. I just had an apostrophe. I think you mean an epiphany. Lightning has just struck my brain. Well, I'm sure that hurts. Like, it's such a good fucking. It's so. It's such a good scene, and it's such an accurate portrayal of those two characters interacting. It is so good. Oh, I love that stupid movie. I love that stupid movie so much, and all of the actors and all of the characters that are in it. I will still watch that stupid movie to this day. It's so good. I love it. I agree with you 100 fucking percent, Cozy, about the kiss in 2003. The Peter Pan kiss in 2003. I think it was 100% designed to the audience who had never read the book, who had never experienced the book or the play, um, or any of the other adaptions of it. I think it was purely a product of that era. And that's what makes me so frustrated about that. Like, we didn't need to believe that Peter Pan was in love with Wendy, because that's not the feeling you get when you read the book. The play acting that happens between Peter and Wendy in the book, like, you can tell he's infatuated with her. It is 100% true. But he's not infatuated with her because he loves her and wants to be her boyfriend or her husband. Yes, I will absolutely read Peter Pan on stream. You did not even have to ask me twice. Um, I love that fucking book so much. I'll read both um Peter and Wendy and The Little Bird or whatever it's called. I'll read all of the stuff I can that's in the public domain about Peter Pan. I will. Absolutely. Um the way Peter treats Wendy in the book is absolutely the way a little boy would treat a little girl that he's crushing on. Like, he's not in love with her. He's in like with her. There is such a big difference between that. And the way they treated Peter Pan and Wendy in the 2003 version of Peter Pan was that they were both hormonal prepubescence. And that was not the case with Peter in the book. It was with Wendy in the book, but it wasn't with Peter. Peter had spent God knows how many decades, maybe bordering on centuries, that he was a little boy. He was always a little boy. He never matured past the age of being a little boy who could maybe have a like of a girl, but never to the point where he's like infatuated with kissing her, with wanting to be romantic with her. That was never Peter Pan. But they made it that in the 2003 version, and they made it such an important part of the story, climax, all of that and that shit. Basically, it was like very, very fixated on that, and like part of the reason why why Tinkerbell had such an issue with Wendy. Tinkerbell in the book, like I said, I just really like the music in the movie. Yeah, no, and the acting was still great. It was still a great movie. It's just not 100% true adaptation. Maybe it's 70%. Um, 65. Anyway, the Peter in Hook, we got to see that Peter grow up because in that version of Hook, of Peter Pan, that version of Peter Pan, he started spending more and more time on the mortal plane in the time flow of modernity. He got to watch every time he came back to the flow of time, he would age, which is why he was encouraged not to do it. But the version in Hook, you got to see his motivations as to when and how and why. Because he did continue to grow up. He needed to continue to grow up. He couldn't stay a baby for the plot of the story, but also for the Peter Pan that we see in the source material. He gets to an age and then he stops really coming to the natural flow of time until he runs into Wendy. And I speculate that part of the reason he did that was because Wendy lives in the house that he was born in and grew up in. I have a feeling that's why he ever even learned who Wendy was he went there with the intention of spying on his family, and he ended up spying on Wendy instead. Um, and then becoming infatuated with the stories that she told and going on from there. There's implications that from the 2003 version, what threw me off with Hook is how young adult Peter was. Like, yes, he was a kid on Neverland, but for how long? Wouldn't his age have caught up with him? And that's part of it. In the version of Hook, he disappeared when he was about the same age as Rufio is. Like he went back to the natural flow of time and never returned and left the boys, all the lost boys, wondering what the hell happened. And um, Tinkerbell continued to bring additional lost boys to Neverland, or they got to Neverland however else they ended up in that canon getting to Neverland, because you don't ever just see the original lost boys there, because in the original source material, if I remember correctly, all of the original lost boys come home with Wendy. Um, if I remember correctly, it's been a minute. Um, but like more Lost Boys continue to show up in Neverland, and that's when eventually Rufio takes up the mantle. You know, he becomes the Pan after Peter just stopped being there. I don't think Rufio ever met Peter. I think Rufio came much later. I would if they ever did. Maybe. If they ever did a remake of Hook, which I hope they never do, but if they ever did, I would absolutely love it to be about Rufio. I think that would be a great story to add to that canon. That would be similar enough, that would have a lot of the same elements of the story. Because that was part of what made Rufio so great as a character. Rufio became Peter Pan. He took on the mantle of Peter Pan. He performed the way Peter Pan performed. The only thing yes. No, we'll talk about that in a second. The only thing that Rufio could not do, that Peter could do, that was fly. That was the only thing he couldn't do. None of the Lost Boys can fly without Peter. None of the other Lost Boys in Hook's universe, canon story universe, caniverse, story canon. There we go. In Hook's story canon, after Peter left, there was no other Peter Pan who could fly. None of the boys could fly. None of that was something that became possible. So that was one of the things that won over the Lost Boys in Hook was old Peter, adult Peter, could fly. He was able to fly. And the only reason Peter Pan can fly is because he's the only one who can really truly like personify childhood innocence. He's never experienced true sadness, grief, and loss. And that's what keeps a person from being able to fly. It's not just thinking a happy thought. You have to be able to fully give yourself up to a happy thought in a way that only a child can possibly do. And that's what made Peter so special as a character in that story canon. Um, whether or not that's the case, because I don't think, if I remember right, I don't think any of the other adaptions have anybody fly unless they're with Peter or have the fairy dust. Peter doesn't need fairy dust. That's an important thing to remember about Peter Pan. He's able to fly without any help. Um, in that way, yes, pixie dust, fairy dust. Um, in that way, he is unique, important, special, etc. Um, nobody else can do that. But I think it would be incredible to hear a story about Rufio and how he became a lost boy and rose in rank. And he obviously came to Neverland in the age that he was because he isn't able to fly back and grow older. He is that age and becomes Rufio, the Pan. Like I could see how that would be an incredible story. Maybe I'll reach out to Dante. I have some I have some connections that could make it possible. But I don't want to get too much into that. Um there was something that you had said. What was it that you had said that I came back to? Was it specifically about the kiss? I think that was the only real thing. Um, can't think of anything else. I don't see anything else that I wanted to necessarily discuss. Oh yes, the sword. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it back. So the Peter Pan sword was left behind, and Rufio used that as an emblem for being in charge, for being the Pan. That was like one of the only relics they still had of Peter was the sword. So if you had the sword, you're the Pan now. But that wasn't what it was. That wasn't what made Peter Pan. Peter Pan was the sword. It was his ability to fly. Um, so he ended up giving the sword to Thud at the end of Hook. So Thud became Peter, or became the Pan, I guess, in that way. We never see whether or not Thud is able to fly. We do see. So Peter never actually gave it to him. He took it. Yes. With Rufio, yes. He did not. Rufio never received the sword from Peter. It's possible the boys may have collectively, the Lost Boys may have collectively found the sword and used that as their crown, I guess you could say. They awarded that to whomever they believed best became the Peter, the Pan. Um, and that would be an interesting plot point to follow in whatever story that ended up being. I think that would be cool. Um, I've seen a couple other different adaptions of Peter Pan that have brought in different story elements that I thought were really interesting. Um, One of them specifically about Tiger Lily's tribe and how they ended up in Neverland. I think, if I remember right, I'm not sure, but they might have been the same tribe that was involved in the Roanoke. Excuse me, not Roanoke, the Croatoan, um, the Croatoan unsolved mystery from the colonial times, if I remember right. I'll have to find that adaptation and see if I can find the details of it again. Um, another thing I disliked about Hook, Tinkerbell getting big, taller, adult size. Yes, Tinkerbell getting her wish. Um, I had mixed feelings about that. As a kid, I didn't understand why that was necessary. As an adult, I understood more because it comes back to the whole thing about Peter's infatuation with Wendy, Peter growing old and developing hormones and wanting to give a real kiss and settling for Miranda and having kids. And that was the whole thing about why Peter decided he wanted to grow up. He didn't want to just pretend to be a father. He wanted to be a father. He wanted to have children. He wanted that. He wanted a family because he never had that. He didn't want to grow up, but he never had a family when he ran away. And he missed that. And that's why he collected the Lost Boys. And I think the original Lost Boys might have even been collected by Peter. Um, but I don't know for sure from my recollection. Yeah, no. The point of, in my opinion, from my understanding, the point of Tinkerbell becoming full-sized has everything to do with one of her lines. She says something along the lines of, I've always felt this thing, but it was such a big emotion, I never could really feel it. This is the first time I've been big enough to feel it, big enough to have it. Exactly. Um, exactly, Neff. So she's finally able not only to show Peter that she loves him, and she's always loved him, but that she wanted to be his person, his forever love. She as a fairy was an adult. She was an adult fairy. The thing is, she was a fairy, and the thing about fairies in can Panon, if you will, was that they were unable to feel multiple emotions because they were so tiny they could only ever carry one emotion at once. So the feeling that Tinkerbell normally had when it came to Peter as an adult fairy was loyalty, was like devotion. That's what she had for Peter as a fairy. She was devoted to Peter and only Peter. She had no desire to ever do anything else. And as soon as Wendy showed up in Peter's atmosphere, in Peter's orbit, she had competition. So her feeling changed from devotion to Peter to jealousy about Wendy. And that was her whole feeling as long as Wendy was there. That's why she goes to the extent that she goes to try and get rid of Wendy because she doesn't want to lose her devotion to Peter and Peter's devotion to her. And it's only when she potentially kills Wendy that Peter responds the way he is because he's almost a fairy himself, the way he's grown up, the way he's raised. That's why he's able to fly because he is practically a fairy, but he's not a fairy, he's a human. And he's able to feel more emotions than just one emotion at once. And he feels betrayal and hurt and anger and frustration with Tinkerbell for trying to hurt his his infatuation, and he banishes her. And that does the same thing as the jealousy problem. Instead, it becomes like panic and fear because she's not able to have Peter's devotion. And she's not able to do, but she's still devoted, completely devoted to Peter, and will do anything she possibly can to help Peter, to take care of Peter, to love Peter, to be with Peter, because she's devoted to Peter, which is why she gets in the way of him taking the poison, et cetera, why he's able to resurrect her, et cetera, et cetera. When she becomes adult sized, when she's able to finally feel all of the complex emotions that she's had for Peter Pan all at once, she's able to truly feel love because love is not a singular emotion. It is so complicated and so complex that being adult sized gave her the ability to finally express all of the feelings that she's ever had for Peter all at once. That she truly loved him. And Peter, adult Peter, who reassumed the Pan role and regressed back into childhood, didn't really realize until Tinkerbell kissed him that he wasn't a child anymore, that he couldn't just be Peter Pan and also be Peter Banning at the same time. They were conflicting they were conflicting personifications. He was Peter Pan and is now Peter Banning with all of that history of Peter Pan. But he cannot take Peter Banning back to when he was Peter Pan. It is a linear timeline. But Tinkerbell was able to experience the whole length of that And she wanted that. She wanted to be able to have her Peter, but also be able to feel all of the emotions that she was and have them reciprocated. But as soon as that switch flipped of Peter regressed Peter Pan flipping back into Peter Banning Pan, it was only because of Tinkerbell kissing him that he would have been able to do that. Because the boys, the Lost Boys, fully committed to the bit. They weren't going to remind him of the kids. They had their Peter Pan back. They didn't want to lose that again. That they had one, they were children and they had one interest, and that was to have what they wanted. And that's not an insult to children. That is a true understanding of the psychology of a child who does not know that higher need thing. They don't have that, they haven't reached that level of growth in their mental maturity to understand you have you can't just care about what you want, you have to care about what everyone wants. Or not, you don't have to care about what everyone wants, but you need to care about what other people want just as much. The people that matter to you, you need to be able to care about them just as much as you care about your own wants. The children don't know that. They don't know how to do that. Tinkerbell doesn't know how to do that. Peter Banning knows how to do that. And as soon as he was able to what's the word I'm looking for? Reclaim that part of him, which he would not have been able to do without Tinkerbell, that's when he's able to get back, hey, this is the mission. I'm not here to reclaim the role as Peter Pan, which is what everybody else wants from him. The Lost Boys want him to be Peter Pan. Hook wants him to be Peter Pan. Tinkerbell wants him to be Peter Pan. He is not Peter Pan anymore. He is Peter Banning, who has children and a wife and people who expect things from him. But him regressing back to Peter Pan, reclaiming his own history that he had lost because he more or less like gave himself amnesia from going back into the natural flow of time and growing up and forgetting childhood, because that's what happens when you're an adult. You start to forget things. You start to lose those memories. And he already had so many desires as a person that he didn't want to remember those things anymore. They didn't matter to him the way they did the things that he wanted in right then and there. That's what makes Hook such a great story. None of this is talked about in the movie. This is all stuff that I've thought about over the course of my entire life, knowing and loving this fucking movie. But that's why things have to happen the way that they do. That's the only reason they're able to go that way. And Neff is right. It leans into the idea of Tink being sexually attracted to Peter the entire time, and that's a bit of an ick considering Peter's age when they were friends. With Hook, she didn't it wasn't even just when he was a little boy. She rescued him when he was a baby. She literally watched him grow up. Like all the way to adulthood. Buddy, if I find it somewhere online movie night in Discord, I can help with that, but that's different. We'll talk about that later. Um it's just I get it. I get why the story happened the way it did and what the points were and why they were important. All of them, especially especially when Rufio dies. Why he had to die, what his role was. It hurts because the character was so great, so amazing. But he had a role to play. He had to be competition for the role of being Peter Pan and gaining the trust of the Lost Boys. I'll come back to that in a second, Neff. He had to be the reminder to Peter about why being a dad was so important. It wasn't just that he wanted to be a dad, because that was a big part of why he decided he wanted to grow up. He wanted to be a dad. But then being a dad and forgetting why you wanted to be a dad. You wanna be there for your kids. You wanna be there to help them, to be their stewards, to help them grow into the best people they can possibly be. And Peter Banning forgot that. He forgot his reasons for wanting to be a dad because he got caught up in normality, in humanity, in all the reasons why he didn't wanna grow up in the first place, which is why he talks about that when he's talking about why he ran away as an infant. He didn't wanna grow up and no longer have fun and no longer play games and no longer enjoy life as a kid. When he became an adult, that's exactly what happened, and he had his children. And so many people say the reason they have children is just so that they're able not only just to continue the line, not just because they love the other person that they have a kid with, but because you have a legacy when it comes to having a child. You are part of that child. That child is part of you. They carry part of you, and it gives you an opportunity to relive some of the most wonderful things that you got to experience as a child, but not from the perspective of a child, but from the perspective as an adult, looking back at yourself and seeing you learn and grow and discover and mature and develop and become your own person. You get to watch that happen from the outside rather than from the inside. And Rufio dying, ugh, Rufio dying reminds Peter why being a dad is so important to him. He has to protect his children, the people, the whole reason he became Peter Banning in the beginning were for his kids. And he'd forgotten that by becoming an adult. And that's something that a lot of adults forget to do, which is what makes the movie so amazing because it's not just something you can enjoy as a child, but also as an adult. Oh my god. Just like because that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens with so many people who have children. They get so caught up in the adult part of being a parent, they forget to about the kid part of being a parent. They forget to be there for their kid and to love them and cherish them and raise them and be there for them. They become focused only on, "I have to make enough money to pay my bills. I have to make enough money to put food on the table, to put clothes on their bed, to make sure that they're healthy," all of that shit. But they forget to take care of their kid as their kid grows up and matures too. And that hits me a little harder than most things because I had a really bad childhood. And I know a lot of people who love Peter Pan as a story have really hard childhoods. That's what makes it such a great story. It's really it really taps into a lot of people's feelings about being trapped by societal roles and expectations and then not being able to experience all of the good parts of being a child, all of all of it. So I will always really, truly, deeply love Peter Pan as a story for that reason. So is Hoffman's Hook your favorite? Because as much as I love Hook and Hoffman, there is a single Hook I enjoyed more. Please tell me who that Hook is, Neff, and I will address both of those things. I will say, if It's really hard for me to pick the best hook, honestly. I really love I think I would say Hoffman is in my top 3, like, genuinely. I really genuinely love, Dustin Hoffman's hook. I know! Oh my god, see? You were AFK or something. You weren't paying attention when we were talking about 2003 Peter Pan a minute ago, were you? Because we talked about that for a minute. Um, the thing I love about Dustin Hoffman's hook is he reminds me a lot. He reminds me a lot of what a pirate is supposed to be. That's part of the reason that I love Dustin Hoffman's Peter or Hook. Excuse me. Um, having just finished reading uh Treasure Island on stream with Cozy, I think you can agree with me thinking about Dustin Hoffman's Hook is very much like Long John Silver. Like the character of Long John Silver is very, very, very similar to the character of Dustin Hoffman's James Hook. And that's what I like about that. Um, I can understand why Jason Isaacs' Hook is also really good because I think in that regard, in my opinion, with that, you can get it on if you want a hard copy, that's one thing, but if you want a digital copy, you can get it on Gutenberg and you can get a audiobook version on LibriVox. Both of those are good sources. And I'm probably going to read it now after this long, long, long tangent about adaptions. Um, Jason Isaacs' Hook reminds me a lot more of novelization Hook insofar as you get the impression that Hook, that all of the pirates, the adult pirates in Neverland, are caricatures of pirates, and also that they're adult children. Like, yes, they are in the bodies of adults, but mentally and psychologically and definitely emotionally, they don't behave like adults do. They don't have the same traditional piratey desire of riches and wealth and adventure. Um, their sole purpose in Neverland is to be part of Peter's whimsy. Um, and you get that impression with the 2003 version of Peter Pan because, like, for instance, like the ocean freezes solid when Peter isn't there. And that's what's awesome. I'll look at that later, Cozy. Um, that's what I really loved about Jason Isaacs' version of Hook. He is the closest to a loyal um, representation of the novelization version of Hook. He is there to be Peter's adversary. And in the same way that Tinkerbell is obsessed with Peter, so is Hook in 2003 Peter Pan. He is obsessed with Peter. His whole life is to be Peter Pan's adversary. And if something gets in the way between him and being Peter Pan's adversary, that's his sole purpose in life is to make sure that that thing goes the fuck away. And he will do whatever he can to take it out, to ruin it. In some ways, Tiger Lily being a little older than Peter, being a little bit more mature than Peter, uh, being at least mature sexually to Peter, gives that whole impression of Peter having a female representation of relationships and maturity and that kind of stuff. But it's very one sided, the same way it is with Wendy. you know? The fucking Skull Rock scene in 2000 movie, I love it. Agreed. 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 Um, and let's not sleep on the cartoon version by Disney. It's a very good version of Peter Pan. It is. Um, and it's a lot of people's like one true Pan, you know? And I can't hold them against that because it's a great little version. It really, truly, deeply is. And that version of Hook is also great. Um, and the ability of cartoons and animation, Snidely Whiplash. I think I know what version you're talking about. Hang on a minute. Is that the one with the female pirate? Am I remembering right? Maybe I'm not. Hang on. Snidely Whiplash. Oh, is he the voice actor for the Disney Hook? Is that what it is? Oh no, the oh, I get it. The pastiche. Yes, okay. The cartoon version. The cartoon version from Peter Pan, the cartoon, the Disney version. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I'm sorry. I'm a derp. I'd forgotten. I know who Snidely Whiplash is, the character. It took me a second looking at his little freaking Wikipedia page to be like, "Oh, that guy." I know what that is cuz Dudley Do Right and that shit. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what's so great about the Disney version of Hook for sure. The character, not the movie. Not the movie Hook, but the character of James Hook, pirate captain James Hook. Um, there was a version, I want to say, one of the Fiennes brothers. Exactly. Exactly, Neff. Hook Hoffman was a good blend of Disney and Isaacs before Isaac portrayed the role. But definitely, like, I could see how Isaac possibly borrowed some of his characterization from Hoffman's Hook for certain, especially the dripping charismatic scenes, like 100%, totally something I could totally see Hoffman singing "Tooraloo" if Hoffman could carry a fucking tune, like 110% for sure. I love the live action play version. I think a woman. Yes, yes, that was the black and white version. My mom actually has a signed autograph from the lady who plays Peter Pan from that version. Um, let me pull up Fiennes. Not Ray Fiennes. It's the same guy who played um, Sherlock's brother in Elementary, but I cannot fucking remember. Peter's traditionally portrayed by a woman on stage because flight harnesses have weight limits and also dudes can't pass for prepubescent boys in most cases. You are 100% correct, Neff. And also um it's funny when you take into consideration how Shakespeare had men play women because women were not. I really sent us on a spiral. You sure did. It's fine. I liked it. I'm enjoying it. Um, it's funny because of the whole thing with Shakespeare and female and male actors and all that shit. How a lot of the women characters were played by twinkie guys back in the Shakespearean era. Oh my god, it's gonna kill me. I need to have to backtrack. Elementary TV series. Actor who played brother who was a Finesborough. I can't remember his name. What is his name? Oh, is it? It's not Fiennes. It's Rhys. Rhys Ifans. That's who it is. He reminds me of a Fiennes brother. I can't remember. Good. You shouldn't be sorry. He reminds me of the Fine brothers. That's why. Um. Oh, and he's married to Anna Friel, and she played the lady pirate. Oh my gosh, I gotta remember the name of that fucking version now. Give me a second. It's in her filmography. Scanny. I might have to get up for a second to pee. Suddenly have to pee. Oh, it's literally called Neverland. Okay. So there was a version of Peter Pan that came out in 2011 on Sci-Fi that was called Neverland, and it was another version of Peter Pan. It was a quote unquote prequel. It got really poor reviews. I disagree with those people. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great little adaptation, and I think a lot of people who shat on it are fucking wrong. And I really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to read the plot summary, or I'm going to read part of the plot summary because it's fucking long. In London, England, 1906, thief James Jimmy Hook assembles a gang of juvenile street thieves to help him steal a strange glowing orb from an antique store. While carrying out the theft, Hook and the boys vanish. Only Peter, who had been assigned to be lookout, is left behind. Believing it was a bomb and his friends are dead, Peter takes the orb and returns home. A man arrives asking for Hook, and Peter decides to follow him, hoping to get information about why Jimmy was hired to steal this orb. He is caught and introduced to Dr. Richard Flood, F-L-U-D-D, who explains that Hook and the boys are not dead, but have been transported to another world. Peter returns home where he hits the orb, determined to find his friends and bring them back home. Meanwhile, Hook and the boys find themselves in a strange land and are quickly captured by a band of pirates led by Captain Elizabeth Bonny. Bonny shows Hook magic dust that comes from the tree spirits that live on the island. The dust gives the power of flight, but she only has a small vial and wants Hook to help her get more. Peter finds himself in the middle of a forest and is reunited with Fox, who managed to avoid being captured by the other pirates. The boys make friends with the natives and meet the chief's daughter, Aya. They learn that the natives protect the tree spirit colony from the pirates. Peter and Fox rescue their friends from the pirates, but Fox is killed during the ensuing fight. I'm not going to read any more. I don't want to ruin the rest of the story because that will happen if I keep reading. Bobby Driscoll was the first ever Peter Pan I had ever watched. Bobby Driscoll. Anyway, Neverland miniseries from Sci-Fi. I really loved that version of the Peter Pan story for different reasons. It's not meant to be a perfect adaptation. It's meant to expand on the story. And I think it does that in a great way. It doesn't follow the story of the the little white bird, I think is what it's called. I'm gonna have to double check on that too. Hang on a second. Who is Bonnie Driscoll? Bonnydriscoll. Okay. Okay. Oh, so he does the voice of Peter Pan in the Disney version. Okay, gotcha. And I never knew his name. Good to know, though. Mary Martin. Mary Martin. Is that the name of the actress who plays the stage version? I bet it is. Why you chasing me around like this, you nerd? Yeah, that's her. Yeah, she plays Mary Martin plays the yeah, blame your phone. Mary Martin plays the stage adaptation, the black and white stage adaptation of Peter Pan. She is phenomenal. She is a lot of people's Peter Pan from that era of time. It doesn't surprise me remotely that you know about that version because of the age of your mother, because of the age of your parents. They would have that would have been the version that they remembered and watched too, if not the Disney version. Because the Disney version of Peter Pan, I think, came out shortly before or shortly after. Yeah, he came out the year before. So they both happened around the same time. That Disney version. It plays on Disney constantly too. Yeah, you're right. It does. And there's also a couple different spin-off franchises that came out of the Disney version. I know it's also in Kingdom Hearts. Uh, I know they made a sequel movie about Wendy's daughter. That was another thing I wanted to point out about the 2003 version of Peter Pan that they inferred based on the story was that Mrs. Darling also knew Peter. Like she the reason Wendy knows about Peter Pan is because Mrs. Darling told Wendy stories about Peter Pan, and she knows about Peter Pan because she also went to Neverland. So the idea is based on the 2003 version of the movie of the franchise of the story is that Mrs. Darling and Wendy are part of a chain, and they're all people, all women specifically, that Peter become infatuated with. And part of the reason it's so easy for him to become infatuated with them is because they all look like slash act like the same person, the same character in his little story of the mother and the father, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you get a little bit of that same impression. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Neff. Um, you get a little bit of that same idea from Hook also, because Granny Wendy has a daughter, and then that daughter has a daughter, Wendy's granddaughter. There was enough of a time split between the last time Peter saw Wendy and then saw Miranda, and that's why he stayed with Miranda. But the Peter Pan Disney part 2 was Jane was Wendy's daughter. So yeah, it kind of they borrow that same kind of storyline too. And I don't believe, I'm pretty sure, I'll have to check when we read the book, right? That that is not something that's in the book, to my knowledge. I know Mr. Darling plays Hook essentially because it's cheaper and that's how theater works, correct. But I love the implication it has if the whole thing was a fantasy of Wendy's. Also good. Yes. Like leaning into the fantasy element of he's an old scraggly guy who is Peter's adversary and obviously like my dad because my dad is a crunchy old man who's an adult who doesn't care about anything but adult things. The same way the pirates only care about pirate things. So there's a lot of corollaries that you can draw from point character A to character B in that way. And it being a fantasy of Wendy's, the whole story of Peter Pan, yeah, also great. And we haven't even talked about Finding Neverland with Kate Winslet and Johnny Depp and all of that. Another movie that I'm very fond of, in spite of all of the drama that has come out about Johnny Depp as an actor and person and all of that bullshit. I don't even want to get into it because it's not relevant. Damn it. Um, it does look like, though, we might be out of time because I think there's a 4-hour limit. No, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting close. There's a 4-hour limit on the stream. I can't believe it's been 3 hours. Oh my god. This was meant to be a test stream. uh, um, oh, I lost track of what I was saying. Um, fuck. Good test. Thank you. Also, Disney's Jake and the Neverland Pirates kind of broke the only pirate that exists in Neverland are adults. Yeah. Let's not talk about Jake and Neverland Pirates because that's just talk about a franchise that doesn't add anything to the actual story. Anyway, the one thing that is I do remember from reading the book is that one of the things Peter is prone to doing. Exactly. One of the things that Peter is prone to doing is flipping the script. Sometimes the pirates will chase after them, and then halfway in the middle, Peter will flip the script and they'll be chasing the pirates. So that is something that again touches back on the whole, all of this exists for Peter. Neverland exists for Peter. Or at the very least, Peter is so entangled with the essence of Neverland that he is the reason Neverland continues to exist, if that makes sense. And that also could play into the whole thing about the Lost Boys and about pirates and about the native tribe and the law and all of that. Like the reason that Neverland continues to exist is because people believe in it. As long as people believe in Neverland, it never goes away. Does that make sense? I'm still not forgetting Depp for what Burton did to Sweeney Todd. Don't, because he's in the reason I brought up Johnny Depp. We're not going to go into Sweeney Todd and all of that because that's another adaptation thing, and I could definitely talk about that. We brought up Johnny Depp because of Finding Neverland, which is supposed to be the story of J.M. Barrie writing Peter Pan. And Dustin Hoffman is actually also in it. He plays the patron, like his primary patron at the Playhouse, because that's what J.M. Barrie did. He wrote plays in addition to other things, but playwriting was like his bread and butter. That's how he made his income. And he wrote Peter Pan, which then became a play. Or maybe it was the other way around. I can't remember. Good, Neff. We can do that. Can be our collaborative project. How about that? I would love to do that with you if you'll give me the opportunity. Finding Neverland as a film was really lovely. I don't know how many people, I don't know if either of you ever watched it. I'm going to assume you didn't. But like the basis of the story is that J.M. Barrie gets involved in the life of a little boy named Peter, who he names his character after. and his brothers and their sick mother, who is, I think she probably has tuberculosis. I want to say she is on the way out, and she is constantly trying to entertain her sons, but she's sick and she's getting sicker and she's losing the energy to do that. And I think if I remember right, Jan uh witnesses them playing in the park and becomes enchanted by them and starts to um basically self-insert himself into their lives and write stories on the fly for the boys. And the way that they share the experience of storytelling as children who are play acting for fun, and JM, who is writing up these little plot lines, he's basically the game master to a little D&D group before D&D ever existed. And then he takes all of these stories that he's building with and for the boys and turns them into Peter Pan. And then tragedy happens and he becomes a much more important person in the boys' lives, etc., etc. I don't want to ruin the story if you haven't seen it. If you have the opportunity to see it, I think you should. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a great little film. It's a huge tearjerker. Kate Winslet is amazing. The boys are all fucking amazing. Nana, the dog, is also in the movie as JM's Newfie, which is who he named Nana's, like who he made Nana for, because he had a Newfie and he loved his Newfie. That's why Nana exists in the story of Peter Pan, because of JM and his love of Newfoundland dogs, which are beautiful dogs, by the way. I'm gonna go ahead and say let's grade out because I don't want to be cut off in the middle, and I feel like this is a natural place that's good to stop. So I'm going to go into this this broadcaster's version of a thanks for watching screen. I might be unmuted in the process, but I will resume speaking, hopefully. Let's see what happens. We will find somebody to raid. Am I able to use any of these videos? Okay, a couple of them. Alrighty, here we go. I'll use this one.